even if you don't feel like I don't want to be an activist or whatever I'm doing isn't meaningful in the vegan world, it absolutely is because we live in a world where money matters.
Right.
And so where we can spend it thoughtfully, then that has an impact.
Learning through stories is how Kimberly Winters, my next guest, is changing the world. She has a podcast where she shares the stories of other vegans and their trials and tribulations. And it is through the stories that she's sharing that she is helping to create the kind of world that she wants to live in. She is also a YouTuber and a coach and a meditation coach. She is creating community through kindness and compassion. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Kimberly Winters on Designing the Business. Welcome to Designing the Business, the podcast where we explore what it really means to build a business with purpose. I'm Risha Walden, founder of Walden Interiors and a vegan interior designer. And this show is dedicated to conversations with founders, creators, leaders who are building successful businesses that align with their values. Here we talk about mission, integrity, growth, and the real decisions behind running a business that does good for people, animals, and the planet. Whether you're a business owner, a creative professional, or someone who believes your work should reflect who you are, you're in the right place. Let's design the business intentionally. All right, Kimberly, what inspired you to start your business, and how did your values, especially being vegan, come to play a role in that decision? And maybe you could just explain a little bit about your business first, and then talk about why you started.
Yeah, sure. So my business started as kind of coaching was initially where I was leading from because I just completed a coaching certification and I wanted to get out in the world and help people. But throughout my coaching training, I kept saying I wanted to be focused on veganism. I'd already been vegan for a while. I'd been vegetarian even longer than that. And it was meaningful to me to be able to show up in the world that way. And everyone kept saying, don't do that. The population's too small, or vegans don't have any money, or there's like a zillion reasons why they would never pay you to do anything. But I felt like in my soul that can't be true. So I kept like working at it and trying to figure out what am I going to do. And then I was working through my Toastmasters pathway, which is the education piece in the Toastmasters Club. And I came across a new project, which was a podcast. There were 2 other projects in the options for me to choose from. And I could do some kind of leadership thing, like create a team and do a thing. And I was like, ugh, been there, done that, right? But a podcast I'd never done before. And it felt very scary. So I said, let's try this. And I read the podcast and it was like, you have to do 60 minutes of content and put it out into the world. Yeah. So what else am I going to talk about but the thing that is essentially my entire personality?
Right.
Veganism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the podcast started. But then I had, this coaching training and that was kind of in the back of my mind. How do I like work that into stuff? But I kept going with the podcast and now I'm on season 7 and the podcast is going really well and I continue to get great guests. And I started a vegan morning show with a friend of mine who's also vegan called That Vegan Morning Show. And we're on YouTube Mondays at 7 a.m. and we're live and we just chat about vegan things and the topics change every week. And sometimes we have guests, but usually we don't. And then from all of that, now there's like some group coaching happening. I'm also a public speaking coach. So if people want that one-on-one versus going to like a Toastmasters and being part of a group, then I work with people one-on-one to help them grow their public speaking skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a deeper mission behind your business beyond making money, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like the making money is like a nice thing. And I really want that to be
it's
like
important.
Yeah. Right. They say if you're not making money, you have a hobby, not a business.
That's true. That's true.
So while money is a piece of it, the motivation though is changing people's lives, having a positive impact on the world, making a difference to the animals, the planet, to each other.
No.
And doing that through things like storytelling in the podcast. The first question I ask every single guest is to share their vegan journey. The reason I do that is because we learn about ourselves and about each other through story. And when we see ourselves in another person, they have an experience that we can relate to, that we can feel connected to. That helps us see the change that we're able to make in our own lives.
Right.
So someone who maybe was like, I could never go vegan, but I'm curious about it. I kind of like some of the things I know about it. And then they listen to Did You Bring the Hummus? And they hear, maybe your story, right?
Right.
And they're like, I kind of have had this trajectory the way Risha has.
Mm.
Maybe I could do it. She did it. And then it makes it seem possible and exciting to like take on this new thing and change and go vegan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think most vegans end up saying, "Oh, why did you go vegan?" There's always that conversation when I'm
Yeah.
meeting a new vegan. How long you been vegan? And when did you go?
Yep.
Right? And why?
Yep.
So, and then like seeing that, like, oh yeah, they are like-minded. They're the same kind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you make sure your business stays aligned with your ethics as it grows and evolves?
I love this question. So when it comes to my podcast guests, I will do a little bit of research into them to make sure that they're coming at the podcast and kind of their work from that vegan lens. So there's a difference, right, between being like plant-based or
Yeah.
plant-forward versus being someone who's vegan, following the ethics, the philosophy of all that vegan is. And so if I find out that someone is plant-based and not vegan, then they don't become a guest on the podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a different story, right?
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah. And, I've had to have some of those little difficult conversations. But to me, the integrity of maintaining a guest list of people who are vegan,
Right.
who are coming at it from that perspective, that is what helps me maintain like the mission and the story and all the things that I'm working toward to make the world different
Right.
and better.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's interesting. Have you found that any of the vegans have become non-vegans after like being on your podcast? Not because of the
Right.
podcast, but
So
we have a guest
we
today.
do.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I've made
His
a new friend. He's my bestie now.
His mama left him here, and I'm supposed to be looking after him, but he's upset. So if you hear him crying in the background, it's not because he can't stand listening to us. It's because he's looking for his mom.
Aw, yeah.
So have you found people have become not, or I mean, has anybody mentioned that? I'm just wondering.
Right. No. However, I have then I'm thinking about a guest in particular that I won't name,
Right.
but we were following each other on social media after.
Right.
And like we had the conversation, I asked the questions, she answered the questions in a way that I was like, okay, this person is vegan and we are aligned.
Right.
And then as I was following her, I found that from a political perspective, from a thoughts about how people in the world should be treated, we were not aligned.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And she's got photos of being a certain place in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And so I unfollowed her. And she was even celebrating kind of the Maha movement, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I unfollowed her, and the episode is still up because nothing she said in the episode speaks to any of that.
Right.
But I have had moments where I thought, do I take that one down? Because if they listen, they'll get good stuff. But if they go to follow her, I don't want them to be like, oh, she's like promoting the same things that this person is. Because I don't. Because I have a strong feeling not just that animals should be treated with respect and deserve to be here, live happy lives where they can take care of their families and be in their fullness of things. I feel like people deserve that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't want people to think, oh, she had this person on the podcast, so she must feel that way. And if you listen to any of the other episodes, you'll get that I don't. So at least
No.
there's that.
No, I definitely get that from your podcast episodes. I'm always just amazed because there is a difference between plant-based and
Mhm.
vegan. And for
Yes.
people who don't know, because I am a vegan interior designer. I live a vegan lifestyle, but that doesn't mean that all my clients are and the people I
Right.
work with are. They just get the added bonus of
Mhm.
everything being vegan or
Yeah.
as close to vegan as possible because there are some challenges, but I know that 99% I'm doing better than
Mhm.
I was doing 10 years ago or
Yeah.
more when I wasn't vegan. So making a difference. But people they will talk about saying, oh, well, isn't vegan just diet? And we know it's so much more than diet.
Right.
But I'm always shocked when people say, well, I was vegan for a while. Now I'm not vegan. I don't even know how you can go there.
I wonder that too. Like what happens? And I haven't been able to have a conversation with someone who has stopped being vegan to like dig into it.
Right.
I'd love to know, like, how do you know the things we know
Yeah.
about the way our systems are set up and the way animals and people just suffer in that system every single day?
Yeah.
And then you just go, I'd really just rather have a burger.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Right. I don't understand it either.
Yeah.
It's,
How do you turn that off in
I
your
don't know.
brain?
I don't know how you turn it off. Well, actually, this next question for you is really, can you share a moment when staying true to your values challenged you professionally, which you just spoke about? Moment that, you know, maybe when you were doing the podcast or something that you realized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is an episode that was never released.
Ah,
Yes, because we were having this great conversation. I met the person via like a social media connection, and we were having this great conversation about storytelling, and one of the things that this person used to get their message out was poetry.
oh,
And I know, right? So I'm thinking like this is great, and it's talking about like bringing it in from like kind of channeling it down. It was just such
right.
an interesting conversation. And then out of nowhere, they say, so about these vaccines, and went on a full anti-vax
Oh,
rant.
okay.
Yeah.
But that's not what the podcast is about, is it?
Not at all. We were talking about finding that vegan message through
Right.
poetry and story.
Sure.
And had even talked about how can we bring this as an event to people to
Right.
like channel their own
Yeah,
stories. And like
yeah.
I kind of held on to the episode because this person was like, I'm going to get my social media up so that
Right.
I have places to promote and people
Sure.
will
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
listen. And so I was kind of waiting for that. I didn't want people to be subjected to that through me.
Right. I
Yeah.
see.
And if that's what people's views are, I understand people have different views than I do, but I just don't want to be
That's not
the
part of the
conduit,
right.
right? Of like you start here with me, you listen to this episode, you want to learn about the guest, and then you wind up there.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's not what your platform is for. It's about learning about veganism. It's
Mhm.
about learning about the vegan lifestyle, what that entails, people's journeys,
Mm,
right? It's
yeah.
not for other political reasons or
Right. And there
right?
is some intersectionality because that's important to me too,
Sure.
to understand that it's not just the animals who are suffering, although they are suffering in the billions.
Yeah.
It's also the people, it's the way oppression in our country is hitting lots of different populations and how all of that ties together. And until all of us are free, really none of us are free.
I mean, because we as vegans work really hard
Yeah.
all the time. I mean, you've had that where yeah, I'm sure where, you're told why you should be eating meat
Mhm. Oh yeah.
and how you hurting carrots. That,
Yes. Right.
you get these
Yeah.
crazy things like all the time from people who
Mhm.
don't understand.
Right.
Um, and it can be a struggle going out to eat. We
Mhm.
were just talking about it before we started
Yeah.
the podcast. We were talking about this great restaurant close to where Kimberly lives, and I don't get up there very often, but I was like, wow,
Yeah.
we got to get out because there aren't
Come visit.
yeah, I'm in Jersey, and there aren't a lot of vegan restaurants. I know where every single one is for the most part.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm going there. I'm going there. I mean, but being a vegan doesn't just mean about food, but
Right.
it is an important component because
Yeah.
we're making those choices every day
And multiple times a day.
and multiple times a day.
Yeah.
People don't think about vegan as interior design, for instance, because people don't make those decisions every day.
Right.
They're making decisions once a decade, every
Mhm.
15, 20 years, and they're thinking about color and feel. And so it doesn't even occur to them about the vegan aspect. But when you're
Yeah.
eating,
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a big conversation.
And a lot more in your face.
Literally in your face.
Yeah.
So what kind of impact do you hope your work has on people, animals, and the planet?
Yes, I hope that my work inspires people to join us in this mission, to go vegan themselves and then to share that with their own skills. One of my skills is speaking. So that's what I use. And that's the most effective way for me. Your skill is you're an interior
Yeah.
designer. And so you help people, like you were saying, get their home, outfitted maybe with vegan items as much as possible. And like, I couldn't believe when you joined me on my podcast, just how many cool things. And since then, how many new materials are
Right.
made from plants and
Right.
that are, possible to be made into furniture and things that, like you said, we are only purchasing, every 10, 15 years, making those choices. But whatever it is that your skill set is, you can
Right.
take it into the vegan world and help us spread the message. And even just, I hear from a lot of people when I say stuff like this, they're like, but I'm not an activist. Like, that's not me. I don't
Right.
want to be in front of people saying stuff. You don't have to. Like if you're a graphic designer, you're a vegan graphic designer,
Right.
then the money that you bring in because you're vegan, you put out into the vegan world as much as you can, right?
Absolutely.
We make choices to buy vegan clothing, to go to vegan restaurants. And
Right.
so even if you don't feel like I don't want to be an activist or whatever I'm doing isn't meaningful in the vegan world, it absolutely is because we live in a world where money matters. And so where we can spend it thoughtfully, then that has an impact.
I'm definitely aligned with that. I
Yeah.
believe our power lies in our choices,
Yeah.
right? And when we make those choices to create the kind of world that we want to live in,
Mhm.
we are powerful beings.
Yeah.
And we do have these choices. We can decide how do we want the world to be.
Mhm.
And it's so impactful, even just like, what am I going to buy at the supermarket?
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm all about people power. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, nobody's going to come down and tell us, I've solved all the problems here."
Right.
We have to do it ourselves. And,
Yeah.
as a vegan, this is how we're doing it,
Mhm.
right? You through your speaking, me through my interior design, and then our choices we make.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Me
I
too.
love that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Kimberly,
Of
for
course.
sharing that. So what do you think the biggest misconception people have about vegan businesses or ethical entrepreneurships?
So I think the first one kind of leads off of what I was just
Hmm.
saying, that they think that vegan businesses have to be food related.
Yeah.
Uh, or it's
Yes.
not vegan. Like
Yeah.
it has to be a restaurant or you have to be, selling cookies, a box of cookies or
Yeah.
something like that. And it really is, if it's vegan led, it's a vegan business.
Yes.
And I mean, well, I guess if you make a choice to sell non-vegan items, then it isn't a
That
vegan
isn't
business.
right.
But
Yeah. Well, it's true.
yeah,
But like I didn't. I became a vegan. I didn't know.
right.
All of a sudden, I became vegan. I'm like, wait, I'm a hypocrite. Holy cow! Like I'm
Right.
selling all this stuff that's animal product, but I've decided not to eat them to save the animals and take care of the planet. And
Mhm.
like, oh my god, I got to change this immediately.
Yeah. And then you do, right?
Yeah.
And if it takes a while, that's how it goes. Like
Yeah.
some changes we can make
Right.
immediately and others we have to become educated about in order to start to make those changes, or we need to raise capital to switch out some things in our business. Like,
Right.
that's understandable, but when we make the choice, then you take the step. And if it takes steps to get you where you ultimately want to be, then you just take the steps.
Do you find that the people that you meet, the business owners that you've met, have they done it kind of cold turkey as a vegan? Has it been like a number of steps from like, oh, I'm vegan to okay, and then 6 months later, and then a year later? Like, what's the typical journey, do you think?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I found a lot more of us who are my age and older started as vegetarian very often, and some were vegetarian for like 30, 40 years, right?
Right.
And then went vegan. And so, if they'd started their business when they were already vegetarian, they were a lot closer to being vegan. And then the steps to change that were like they happened, but maybe
Right.
weren't overnight. And then I've met others who, because of the nature of their business, they were like, okay, I'm vegan now, and so is my business. They were able to
Boom, boom.
yeah, just do it. And so it's interesting how there's such a good mix, but it's so important for us to do it right than to do it unsustainably,
Right.
I think. So if your business, like in your case, right, you had maybe all these different animal products that you'd been working with because that's what interior designers work with until they go
What
vegan.
there was. Yeah. And let me tell you, there aren't that many. I probably know every single one in the world.
Then like you start, okay, I'm vegan. Like if I have all this material to redo an old leather couch,
Right.
now I've got to start researching and understanding what are the alternatives
Right.
to leather.
Yeah.
And so that, and I love that we have your real life example right here so that we can talk through that, because then it's like, okay, well, I understand. Here are the alternatives. Then you start to understand the price points. Are your clients, is that within price
Right.
points your clients can work with
Yeah.
or not? And then go from like you do with any business. You want to make a change, you have to understand what's sustainable and what isn't,
Right.
and then find that way to get you aligned.
Yeah.
I've also met business owners that said, I closed my business. I couldn't make it vegan. Then I started a new one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was just,
It was too hard to align their
yeah.
personal and their business principles?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of like what kind of business that would be?
So interestingly enough, the person was like a PR representative, and they just, all of their clients were in the industries that are abusing
Oh,
animals.
right.
And
Okay, I see
so it was like, these are my clients.
Right.
And they could have, I guess, slowly tried to change out, but they were like, I don't want to spend another day
With them.
helping them
Right.
promote this.
Right.
So they closed it.
Wow.
Not everybody's in that position though, right? Where they're
Yeah.
like, all right, I can shut off my income for right now, figure it out,
Yeah.
and then build something new. So it's so much about your own personal life and where you're at. Does it make sense to close your business, maybe get a job in the interim while you figure it out?
Right.
Are you already ready with a brand new business idea that you have the capital to just launch?
Right.
Or, are you like me where you've got a full-time job that maybe isn't fully aligned with things, but everything you do outside of your life is, or outside of your work life is.
Right.
Yeah. Like sometimes we work for a company and we can't control who they're doing business with.
Right. No.
And we're not in a sales position to bring in different types of clients,
Right.
And so you do what you can, and then you make the world around you where you're really spreading that message and making the difference.
Well, I really believe we are like rocks in the pond. We make ripples.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not directly impacting. We are and we aren't, right? We're
Mhm.
not going and making everybody change around us, but it's just being there, bringing awareness,
Yeah.
education. And I've seen like over the past, let's say, I guess I've been a vegan for almost 10 years or that around me, it's changed the people around me. The people
Mhm.
around me. I mean, I have kids that are vegan now that were like, what are you doing, Mom? You're ruining our life. To colleagues that are saying, oh, tell me like, "Oh, well, I've stopped eating so much red meat. I've,
Mhm.
and that's because of the things that I'm doing.
Right.
I'm being there. I'm educating. I'm advocating. I'm bringing awareness, and it's making small steps,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Little ripples, but
Mhm.
I know when I first became vegan, I'm like, all right, everybody's got to change.
Yep.
Right? I think most vegans have that. Like, my God, I got to, and you get
Yeah.
really forceful, but
Because it's so amazing. And
it is so amazing.
light bulb has gone off or on,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're just like, I gotta tell everybody about this.
Like,
It's
why don't
so
they?
good.
Yeah, and I know, seriously, right? It's so good. Like, it makes no sense to like be in the dark anymore.
Right.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very funny. So, do you see a mistake that your podcast guests or in your coaching that they make when they're trying to be more conscious or make ethical choices? Do you see some mistakes or a mistake that they're making?
Oh, that's a good one. For like people who have like gone through coaching with me, this one's very food specific.
Yeah.
And then I'd say clothing is creating that habit of reading labels.
Right.
Yeah. So the obvious things are
Seriously.
like, here's a carton of eggs. I'm vegan now. I don't eat that. Easy enough. Walk
Right.
by. But you're buying a box of something
Yeah.
and or a package of something and it
Chips.
looks vegan, right? Yeah.
Potato
Yeah.
chip.
It looks vegan. And as you if you do read the label, right, you'll see down at the bottom, the very last thing is like milk or casein. And you're
Right.
like, why? These are plain potato chips. What are you doing?
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times.
Yeah. And if you don't read the label, you buy that, you get home, maybe you pop them open, and maybe as you're like, eating from the bag, you
You
notice?
notice, yeah. I can't tell. I like, and I'm very good at reading labels, and I get tricked. Even
Yeah.
now, I'm like, I get tricked. I'm like, why did I think that was even vegan? Like, it
Right.
seemed vegan, it looked vegan. I'm
Mhm.
like, those are just that little thing, like whatever, potato chips.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like, and I got fooled.
Yep.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And then they use different words too.
Right. Yeah. So you have to learn kind of the different ways that they will call things like, milk protein is also casein. So it's
Right.
not milk itself, it's the
Right.
protein of milk,
Yeah.
but it's still not vegan. So it is tricky. And with clothing too, you can everything might seem like it's good. And then you find out that there's like silk randomly in
Yeah.
it or uh, a patch of leather on it
Yeah.
somewhere. You're like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Why?
Yeah, I know, exactly. We could have made this without it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, that's what I find in my interior design is
Yeah.
that I'm always asking questions, but there are things like furnishings that are made abroad, for instance, and I don't know, especially like third world countries, Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
Bangladesh, or, Vietnam is a big one, even China, they use hide glue. I mean, that was the
Okay.
traditional wood making glue, right?
Yeah.
But can I find out if it is or not? They don't know. I mean,
Right.
they don't know. People that are bringing it in don't know. They're not going to go and find out because I ask a question. Whereas for me, the custom work is better because I can say direct to the manufacturer and the workshop, what glue are you using? What
Right.
finish are you using? What's in your finishes? What's in your paint?
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that it's better than what it was. And I'm bringing awareness to just asking the question.
Oh yeah. 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 I love that when you ask one of those questions and the person's like, I've never thought of that. No idea that glue would include
Uh,
hides or hadn't even thought about that there was an alternative to a leather couch,
right.
like
Yeah,
it's things like that
exactly. Yeah.
where they're like,
It's in-
and it gets their wheels spinning. And if there's someone who loves what they do, what I found is that curiosity builds
right.
and they want to dig in and see, like, oh, I could use this new material.
Yeah.
Or like a chef, right?
Right.
There are definitely chefs that are like, nope, I was classically trained. If there's no animal products, I'm not making it,
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
then there are others who view their craft as the creativity it is.
Yes.
And they go, this is something new I can do. Like
Right.
I could be the chef that does this.
Yeah.
And then they dig in and they learn.
Yeah.
And so even a simple question that they'd
That
never thought
right.
before
That they never.
it sends them on a whole new journey.
I can't tell you how many
Yeah.
times I wanted to just let me go into the kitchen and I'll show you what we can make with this.
Exactly.
I'm like, come on, you guys have vegetables. I just want to eat. So what do you think needs to change generally to like truly align with more conscious value driven leadership?
Huh.
Like in business, in your coaching business, in your podcast business, like what do you think needs to change?
Hmm. So culturally, I think we need to return back to the idea of community and kindness. There's a lot of divide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of I'm in it for myself. And how can I make the most money or be the most successful or have the nicest car or biggest house? And there's so much less of us coming together in a way that serves each other, ourselves,
Right.
and the world around us. And so it can start in these small, like, community ideas. Like, we don't need to try to change the whole country, change the whole world.
Right.
If we just start with our own community and this, like, reconnecting of, like, knowing our neighbors and being there for each other in a and it doesn't it's also like I'm not trying to idealize maybe what we thought life was like before,
Right.
but humans are a community-driven
They
species.
are. Absolutely.
And so the further we get away from each other physically, where we don't
Yeah.
interact, like, I don't know about you, but, like, I don't know my neighbors.
Right.
And that's just how it is now.
Right.
And so there's, like, almost like a barrier, it feels like, for us to come together, or you have to have very specific interests in order to to meet with a group instead of just being like proximity and getting to know each other. Because it's great to be in a group of vegans. I
Right.
love sitting here with you
Yeah,
right now.
sure.
And
Yeah.
to have like there's, in business networking and that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
To be in that little bubble feels so good. But like whose mind am I changing while I'm in there?
Yeah.
And so I want to be out in the world and interacting with people who maybe have never thought about the things that I think about
Yeah.
and to try to get them to think about that too. So I think just in business, in our lives, it's a lot more of just trying to find a way to come together.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And, it's also about like getting ideas to come in too to share.
Yeah.
We are more similar than we know, but we
Mhm.
can't know that until we know each other,
Right.
right? We can see the differences
Mhm.
or we can, you know, think of the differences, but we often don't think of what the similarities are, like
Right.
how many similarities there actually are. And if we can build a community based on the similarities versus what the differences are,
Mhm.
yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. And it's important to remember too, I think people it's like vegans and the non-vegans.
Yes.
But like I wasn't always a vegan.
Right.
I didn't go vegan till I was almost 20, or I didn't go vegetarian till I was almost 21. And then I went vegan like forever, like almost 11 years ago.
Right.
So it's like I know what it's like to be the person who doesn't think about veganism or
Right.
not eating animals, who just does what everyone else around me
Right.
does. So it's possible to change.
It is possible to change. Look at I'm like 60. I changed when I was 50. I was vegetarian growing up some part of that time. And then it just was convenient,
Yeah.
part of it. And you don't realize how convenient
Yeah.
until it really isn't convenient. You're like, oh my God, this is so inconvenient. But it is creating, like, do I want the inconvenience now? Because I want to create the world for the
Right.
future, right?
Exactly.
It seems like a minor inconvenience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we think about what the animals go through every day in their very short
Yeah.
lives. Yeah.
How do you feel about I seem to see that there's a lot more visual, like, violence being shown with the animals, right?
Yeah.
To actually pull you in to draw than there's ever been. Like, I never used to see that
Right.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? How do you feel about that?
I feel like it has its place
Yeah.
because I have met people who, until they saw that footage, they were like, "This is stupid." Like,
Right.
good for you, I guess, but, like, I don't get it. And they were really, like, closed off,
Right.
really closed off. And then they saw one of those videos, and it changed everything. But a lot of us don't need that, you know? And so a lot of us need conversation, or we need it modeled. So someone to see you, like you were saying earlier,
Right.
you show up as a vegan, and then the people around you start to take in what you're doing
Yeah.
and they notice what you're doing and then they start to think about stuff. I think a lot of people that's more effective, but for the people who could never consider it until they see that horror in front of them, I think it does have a place.
Yeah. I'm
Mm.
like, I don't want to see that.
I know, me neither.
I know it.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Exactly.
I
I've
think to
seen
myself,
it.
I'm seeing it, I know it, and I'm doing every day.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
making a change, right?
Mhm.
Please don't show that. But I agree
Right.
with you.
Yeah.
You don't really understand sometimes
Mhm.
until you really see it,
Right.
which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause it sticks with you.
Oh,
It sticks with
so
you.
heavy. It's so
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
I try to pull myself away from it, look at the free squirrels
Right.
in my yard, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you tell your younger self or someone just starting out in business about building a business that aligns with their value?
Just do it now.
Do it now.
Do it now. Do not wait until, you've worked at the job that your parents or guardians told you this is how you be successful. Like, don't do that first, because once you have a mortgage maybe, or rent that you have to pay, not just that you might throw to your parents for that space in their
Right.
house, or you have children that you have to take care of and be responsible for. It's a lot harder to go from this steady income from someone else and build your own thing and be able to take that risk, especially as you get older,
Right.
So if you're young and you've got this idea, I say do it now. And I mean, it's only going to serve the planet and the animals the sooner that you get up and do it. And yeah, I think that's what I wish that I could have told my younger self, to just like start now and see where it goes. You can always,
Change.
yeah, figure out if you want that steady income from a regular job, you can go there, you can find that. But like, live your dream now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A fear of, failure gets bigger.
Yeah. It does.
Because now you're like, if you have nothing and you're building something, there's no fear of failure because you
Right.
haven't got it. But if
Yeah.
you've, worked on this, you don't want to lose your car and your house, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's like, okay, how is this going to impact my life in a negative way?
Right.
And even though, like, there's a good saying, which is, you have to give up something good to get something better, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know that. You're
Mm.
letting go of this pole to get to that pole.
Right.
You don't know what's in between, and
Yeah.
that's scary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kimberly, so much, and putting up with
Mhm.
my very whiny guest, Mud. Where is every? No, he
No,
was a
he's
good one, but
lovely.
he's bringing a different energy into the podcast today.
Yeah.
So where can people find you and support the work you're doing?
Oh, thank you so much for that. You can find me at didyoubringthehummus.com. Everything is on there. The podcast is on there, as well as all the different things that you can book with me. And I blog. I also lead meditations. I totally forgot to mention that. I
Oh,
have a
okay.
regular
Oh, yeah,
meditation
I've
practice
seen
I
that
lead.
coming now. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is wonderful. And then if you're on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Did You Bring the Hummus?
Fantastic. We're going to
Thank
put all
you.
the links below. So if you have enjoyed this podcast and our conversation, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and join us again. You can get our next video over here. And thank you so much, Kimberly.
Thank you, Risha.
I
I'm
appreciate it.
really so glad to be here.